Alright, what's up everybody? This is Marshall Couture of DonkeyJawProjects.com and decided to do a live chat this morning while I'm doing my figure drawings. Still trying to figure out this whole live chat situation. And I want to make sure I can see the chat, even though I will be doing some figure drawing and I won't be able to pay attention as much to it. So yeah, I'm going to start my little session here on YouTube, and starting with some 1-minute poses. So this is how I've been starting my day every day. Well, not every day, but many days. Trying to, get better at drawing and working on this sketchbook summer challenge by Brandon Dayton. Started by Brandon Dayton. And it's been going pretty well. I was a little nervous when I first started, preparing for doing the this month, where I fill up a sketchbook that's 220 pages long. Oh, I forgot this is 1-minute poses. Didn't get very far on that one. That happens though. I don't know if you guys can really see it. Hopefully you can. But it's been going well, and try to get these shapes in here quick. And this figure drawing, I use YouTube. There's the masterclass channel. I think that's what it's called. And they have nude and non-nude figure studies you can use to practice your gestures and figure drawing and get better. And so I've been using those, and they're like 30-minute situations. The first 5 or so are 1-minute poses, and then it goes into like 2-minute poses, and then 5-minute poses, and kind of on like that. And been learning a lot. I've done figure studies before, gesture drawings and things like that, and I enjoy it. It's almost like meditative, and it's also stressful sometimes, especially when you're doing like the 1-minute poses, to try to get the whole figure. And there's so much to learn, and I mean, you could do this stuff your whole life and still be learning. But one thing it's really good for, especially with the sketchbook, the sketchbook summer challenge, is it helps me to fill up the sketchbook. Which is something I was thinking I was going to have trouble with. When I first, started kind of preparing, because I was trying to see how many pages I could do, and I was only able to get like 2 done a day. And so I asked people, what should I do? And I already thought figure studies would be a good idea, but I just didn't try it yet. I didn't get to it. But somebody had mentioned it, and I was like, you know what, let me try that. I know that'll work. So I tried it, and it worked like a charm. I usually fill up about 4 or 5 pages, and I have to do 7 to 8 a day. So I end up filling up a good portion just by doing this, and it gets the day started, and then the rest of the, I only have 3 to 4 pages left that I have to do that day. And what I've been finding is, in a half an hour I get these pages done, and then at night, or sometime during the day, I can usually fit in the other pages, and those are the ones that are like more like I get to kind of play around and do fun stuff, or just do more practice exercises and things. So now I'm on to the 2-minute poses after about 1 minute, and it doesn't look like much, and I almost feel like I'm cheating, filling up a sketchbook this way, but at the same time I'm getting a lot more drawing in than I ever have gotten in a short amount of time. It's halfway through the month, so it's been about 15 days. It hasn't even been 15 days, and I've already filled up almost half the sketchbook. So that's about what, getting close to 110 pages in about 15 days, more or less. So it's pretty good, and it's a lot of drawing. And one thing, I've been learning about how to get better as an artist. And one of the things that was really inspiring, somebody said it, I forget, somebody like paraphrased it, might have been like Mike Emmerich or somebody, I don't know, I forget who, somebody. I watch a lot of YouTube videos, it's hard to remember. But somebody said that the difference between an artist who's mastered a lot and who's really good, and somebody who hasn't, is they've done more bad drawings than the one who isn't so good. So you have to draw a lot of bad drawings to get good. So that's what I'm working on, getting some of those bad drawings out. And also just learning, the fundamentals. I was watching one of Mike Emmerich's recent videos, and it was really inspiring, because he was showing what he's been up to, because I've been very curious, actually. I mean, I know what he's been up to in general, like, obviously him and I and Chris are working on the anthology, 100 Days of Making Comics. If you don't know, we're doing this comic anthology, and we're working on putting that together. But I've also seen, I think everybody's seen, that he's been working hard on trying to learn fundamentals of art and stuff like that more, and it's been really inspiring to me. And then all of a sudden the sketchbook challenge came around, and I hadn't been drawing for a while because I've been working on either the anthology or just random stuff, pretty much just the anthology. Oh, and also because I moved and stuff, so I had a lot of stuff going on. And sorry if you can't really see this stuff very well, but it kind of is what it is, I guess. But so I hadn't done like any drawing for like 2 months, and it was bothering me, so I'm like, the sketchbook challenge came around. I was getting inspired by Mike trying to up his game and learn more, and other people as well, and it just seemed to come at the right time. So I was like, you know what, let's just get in the sketchbook. It doesn't have to be anything project oriented. I won't get distracted on my main goal, which is working on the anthology stuff, because all I'm doing is what I should be doing, what every artist should be doing every day, is working on their sketchbook, which I'm not always very good at getting that done. So yeah, it's been really cool, and I'm actually surprised that you know, as long as nothing crazy happens, I should easily actually be able to make my goal of filling the sketchbook or whatever. So it's been awesome. So I've been really excited about learning this stuff, and I've been looking up a lot of, you know, videos, tutorials, classes, things like that on all kinds of different things, basically about fundamentals of learning how to draw and stuff. And one thing that Mike was saying in his video is that, and I'm not gonna, trust me, I'm not spoiling his video because he said a lot of really good points in it, and plus his video's been out for a while, but you know, you'll get a lot from that video if you watch it. It's really cool. I'll link it in the show notes, or description. But one thing he said, what was I saying? Crap, now I forget what I was saying. Anyways, I'm sure it'll come to me. But yeah, working on the fundamentals is huge. And oh, that's what it was. It was that, you know, growing up, he was talking about how growing up he kind of was already, you know, decent at drawing. You know, he wanted to draw, and he loved it, and you know, he kind of took well to it from an early age. You know, kind of in a way that, like, other kids or whatever didn't you know, so much gravitate towards it as much. And you know, he had a certain skill level, and so, but he didn't, you know, know the fundamentals or anything. He just drew, you know, and I think that's how a lot of us kind of start, and that's definitely, you know, I could relate with that because that's how I feel as well, you know. And I don't know how much better I was than other people, but people have always complimented me in my whole life about, you know, my art, and that, you know, they could never do that, you know, the typical stuff artists hear, which I personally, you know, don't think it's true that they can't do it. You know, I think anybody can do it who wants to do it. And that's the thing that separates me from people who can't do it, is that I want to do it, and I practice it and do it all the time, and I love doing it, and I don't know. So, but that's a different discussion. But the point is that he realized that, you know, he kind of learned a lot of stuff intuitively, and some stuff that was fundamentals he was practicing, but he didn't really know it. He didn't have a teacher telling him. He just kind of figured it out on his own. He may have gotten a little further on that kind of thing than I did. I don't know. All I know is I just like to draw, and I would sit in my room and draw all the time. But I definitely wasn't like doing gesture studies or anything like that. I mean, I was trying to draw the human figure because I was into comics, especially. That's the thing that really propelled my desire to push and try to be an artist. Even though I always was into it, that was the thing that really got me, like, I want to be a comic artist, so I'm going to draw every day because I just love it and blah, blah, blah. Even though I already did draw a lot, but when I decided that, then it really propelled that kind of thing. So so I was doing figure drawings, you know. I obviously, like, especially in the 90s, you know, I was enamored by, I just loved, you know, Image Comics and stuff, and all these muscly, you know, superheroes and stuff. I just thought the art was cool, especially. So, you know, so I was doing figure studies, you know, sort of, but there's a lot I was doing probably wrong, and you know, I didn't know much about like gesture or anything. And that's one thing Mike was saying. He feels like he already kind of intuitively was interested in gesture maybe before he really knew much about it. I don't know if I was or not. I guess I knew that I wanted things to be dynamic, so, but my reference for that was pretty much How to Draw Comics the Marvel Way, like that book, or like some of the videos and stuff I found, the comic greats or whatever, that Stan Lee thing with all the image guys and stuff like that. I had a couple of those videos, I think. Now we're on to 5-minute pose. Sometimes I actually get like more nervous about the 5-minute pose, because that means I have to like draw more. I have to get more into detail. What I end up just doing, and maybe this isn't the right thing, is I just end up doing more shading and kind of developing the forms more, but I don't know that I spend more time on structure like I probably should, or like on the gesture. I'm still very new at this. I mean, I've done a lot of this kind of stuff, but I just feel like I have so much more to learn. So that goes into kind of what I was saying is, now I'm starting to do all the boring stuff, you know, the stuff that I shied away from, and just because it was kind of boring, you know, and you know, I wanted to draw cool action poses and people punching other people. You know, growing up thinking that was kind of what comics were, and that's kind of what was exciting about comics. Not really analyzing it as much as I do now, and also not really realizing the potential of it. You know, even though I kind of, that was one thing I did kind of like, was that, you know, I wanted to test the boundaries. I've always been that way with all my creative endeavors. I always want to do new things, but anyways, I wasn't focused on what, you know, necessarily the fundamentals. I also didn't know what the fundamentals were. It wasn't until, I mean, literally like this year. I mean, I've been skirting around it for a while, but this year is when I'm really starting to realize what is meant by fundamentals in art. Oh, hi, Helm Suha? Sorry, I don't know how to pronounce that name, but thanks for watching, and thank you saying I like that you like my drawings. I appreciate that. So, you know, I just kind of went at it drawing what I wanted to draw, basically, and trying to make comics and things like that. But one thing, if you ever decide to make a comic, and a lot of you maybe already have worked on comics before, but you know, I kind of have a somewhat diverse audience, I think, so some of you haven't, but you know, you can make illustrations and stuff, and that's all awesome, or like just a single figure. But once you try to put a figure in an environment, and once you try to start, you know, telling a story and things like that, which is what I've been delving in for the last, I don't know, 5 or so years, more than I ever have. Once you start trying to make a comic, you realize how much you don't know. You realize, like, you come out of making a little mini comic thinking, I need to learn how to draw, because I obviously don't know how to draw anything but, like, you know, a few figures of characters I've created, and that's about it, you know, because you have to end up drawing your characters in all these crazy situations with, you know, you have to just draw common things like, you know, rooms with things that rooms have in it, you know, or like outside places, you know, environments, you know, there's just so much to draw. And then how do you make characters interact with each other in a way that looks cool, interesting, believable. Um, perspective, perspective. It wasn't until, maybe last year sometime that I realized that you have to think about perspective when drawing characters. I never, it never really even dawned on me. I mean, I guess it did. Like, the whole idea of foreshortening I always thought was interesting and exciting, and I tried to do that, and with some success too, um, you know, but there's more to perspective when it comes to drawing people than I really maybe thought of analytically. I might have intuitively got some of that. Um, so there's just so much you can actually learn. And when I thought of the idea of fundamentals for art, when I heard people say you need to practice the fundamentals, I always was confused. I was like, well, what are the fundamentals? Like, isn't art kind of subjective, Like, I see artists like, maybe Sam Keith or Jim Mahfood, or I don't know, just a lot of different, even Jack Kirby, who abstract things to a certain point where I'm like, well, look at them. They don't, their anatomy isn't great, but they make awesome art. you know, they make stuff that is actually more interesting to me than the stuff like Jim Lee does or whatever, because, that actually gets a little boring to me when it's a little too correct, you know what I mean? So I'm like, even up until recently, I was like, I know I should learn anatomy, I guess, but why? Like, I don't even necessarily like the art that is super anatomically correct. you know? It just, it kind of boggled my mind. But I've kind of turned around 180 degrees. I mean, I still kind of will always have that a little bit in my mind, like, but for a while there, I was starting to get to the point where I'm like, I think it's a sham, like, you know, fundamentals, schmundamentals, anatomy, schmatomy. um, I'm just gonna do my thing, and people like my art, but and it's true. Without that, you can create a career, and I'm not saying those artists that I mentioned don't know the fundamentals either. They probably did, at least more than me. I don't know, maybe they didn't. I mean, Jack Kirby's anatomy was kind of crazy from the early days, and I'm pretty sure he didn't ever get any, like, formal training. Sam Keith probably did. He looks like even though his stuff is crazy, he looks like he's done a lot of figure studies and things like that, And I'm not going to go and, like, comment on every artist. I don't know what they've done. I can only study and find out a little bit, but yeah, what I'm learning though is, and there's the thing that everybody always says, which is, well, you got to know the rules to break them. Yeah, it's true, I suppose. But I feel like you can also not know the rules and make some pretty darn cool art. And, I don't know. There is a certain part of me that says that art is a little bit subjective, and screw all these people who are sticklers about it, blah, blah, blah. That being said, what I've learned growing up, or in the last few years, is that regardless of if I want to learn anatomy or whatever, I've kind of become addicted to learning. Like, I just enjoy learning a lot, and that's more what's getting me into wanting to learn the fundamentals. Also, the idea of filling sketchbooks. I do believe, you should draw a lot, whether you're working on the fundamentals or whatever you're working on. We need to be drawing a lot, there's definitely a difference between, you know, people who don't practice a lot or don't draw a lot and those who do. And I want to get to a much better level with my drawing and art. And then as I'm starting to learn, basically the desire to be able to fill up a sketchbook and draw more and just get more mileage, pencil mileage, that coupled with just the fact that I love learning things and I love drawing. I just enjoy it, even if it's boring stuff. Where am I from? I'm from America, and the New England area, Connecticut area. So, oh, looks like my figure study thing is done. So I'll just kind of wrap this up a little bit, but let me see, maybe I can find something else to draw from while I'm finishing up. I don't know. I'll go back to one of the ones that I've previously worked on before. So learning the fundamentals. Oh, just this idea that I love learning now, and I need to fill up sketchbooks, is getting me into doing the fundamentals. So it's not so much that I've changed my mind, and don't get me wrong, I do believe working on these things are important. But I just, sometimes I question, like, the emphasis. I don't know, I don't really want to get into that because maybe I don't know exactly what I think yet about that. But what I am getting at is that I am loving learning all these fundamentals. I mean, it's hard, but and now that I'm like committed to wanting to learn them, and I always did like to draw from life, and I felt like I was learning from that, but I started to get to a point where I'm like, is this helping me to do more cartoony work, you know, because I want to do, and I don't mean like animation cartoony, but like comic book cartoony, you know, like how does this translate to abstracting it and making it simpler? And like I had a hard time understanding that, and I think it does actually. All these like figure studies and drawing from life and things, I'm learning that it does translate more than I realize, but also I've been enjoying learning how to simplify too, and I have to make sure I focus on that too. That's something I don't. It's like I either draw from life or I draw cartoony. Merging the two has always been difficult for me, trying to figure out how one translates into helping the other. It's been difficult for me. But that being said, I'm really excited about learning. I love learning, and I feel like now I'm so excited about the fundamentals that it's like this came into my head, this idea of being like, well, especially when I was starting to learn anatomy more and stuff, being like a artistic surgeon, meaning like being able to name all the muscles and the tendons and I mean, not to like a ridiculous degree, but to a masterful degree that most artists don't even get close to. So yeah, I don't know. So I'm like really excited about that now, and I see how I can get better now, whereas before I was kind of confused. Like I didn't know how to get better, and I didn't know how to even fill a sketchbook, and I wasn't always excited about it. And now I so am, and after this month is over, I'm excited to fill another sketchbook, and just continue on that route. But I'm probably going to go slower on purpose because, I don't know, I like doing these figure studies and going fast, but sometimes I want to spend more time on it. I do have an Instagram. It's, what is it these days? I forget now. Let me look it up. It's Donkey Jaw Projects, I think. That's my website, Donkey Jaw Projects. So you can kind of find everything there, like all my links to social media and stuff. And it's kind of right there, right in the front. I think it's updated. Let me check now. But yeah, my Instagram is Donkey Jaw Projects. I'm gonna go to my web. It's been a while. I haven't done much on my website for a while. DonkeyJawProjects.com. I just want to making sure my links are correct. So I'm pretty much just about done. I'm gonna wrap up here. I have to get going to work. But I'm glad I got some drawings, and I got 6 pages done, so I only need to do technically 1 or 2 more to fill my quota for the day, but I might do more, you know. If I get a jump on it like I did today, sometimes I can do more pages, so I might finish this sketchbook well before. Looks like my website isn't working right now. Weird. Alright, anyways, so yeah, you can find me on Donkey Jaw Projects on Instagram. That's where I actually post stuff more. I'm also on Facebook and stuff, and Twitter, but mostly I'm on Instagram and YouTube, and a little bit on Facebook. So, thanks for watching, anybody who's watched the live thing. I hope you got something from this. You know, start filling up your sketchbooks. I would say, you know, it's important, and it helps us to get better. And the better we are, the more opportunities, you know, we'll be able to have. And I have so much more to say on this topic, and so you'll hear it as the videos come out and stuff. But thanks everybody for watching. I really appreciate you hanging out with me, and yeah, please like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will talk to you on the next episode. See you later.